The earth gives us everything we need as a human to be well. You can see the list at the top. It gives us security. We can build a shelter from its resources. It gives us the food to keep us healthy, nutritious food to keep us so that we reach our life expectancy. And some would say that the earth gives us things that can improve our mental well-being, our social relations as well. I'll give you some examples of that in just a minute. Now on the quiz, what I'm going to ask you to do, I'm going to give you an example of something from the earth, and we can group it into one of these 4 categories that you see the colors correspond to. So let's start with provisioning. The word provisions are things that you need, things that are essential to your health and life. So the example I like to think of is lumber. We have forests, which we cut down to use the trees as lumber for our habitat. So it's essential for our well-being is to have a sturdy home. So trees are provide a provisioning service by providing lumber. Let's move over to regulating. A regulating service is something that keeps the earth comfortable for us. It's a service which cleans something or filters something or keeps the temperature under control. So the example I like here is soil. Soil is a natural filter. When it rains, water occasionally picks up pollution, dirty things on the ground as it flows into and soaks in. So the particles that are in the soil actually sort out a lot of that bad stuff. And what we end up with deep in the ground is called groundwater. And that's what most of us drink out of our taps. And the groundwater is already partially cleaned simply from going through the tiny spaces in the soil. So that is a regulating control. The soil filters the water for us to keep it clean. Cultural. I'm a big parks kind of guy. I take my daughters to the state parks and the national parks, and it's a huge part of our vacations usually. And why do we go to those parks? Well, they're pretty. They're relaxing. They inspire us. I can teach my girls while I'm there. I can teach them nerdy science things. The parks provide jobs, and it's our tourism dollars. So if we look at the cultural services that a national park provides, a beautiful forest, it provides all of those things: recreation, aesthetically pleasing. People go to the parks and they paint, they write songs. But I want you to think of a supporting service as one that does not directly affect humans, but it affects one of these other services, which then affects us. A great example, again, for supporting service, I think, is soil. And you have to stop and remember, how did soil get there? And that's what you see at the bottom, soil formation. Soil forms when rocks get beat up and they break into little pieces. We have something underneath us called the bedrock, and it's been beat up over thousands of millions of years. So how does that help us? And what does the beating up, the weathering? Well, the earth beats itself up, right? Wind, water, ice, all those things. And that makes soil. Well, if we have healthy soil with proper nutrients and composition, then we can grow crops. Healthy crops, which provide food, which is provisioning. If we have a good mature soil, which has all the proper layers, then that provides the regulating service of water filtration. So just forming soil does not directly affect us, but it affects both provisioning and regulating. I would argue that a well-formed soil could be cultural. If you've ever been to the beach and you kick your shoes off and you dig into the sand, sometimes that sand is so fine-grained and soft and it feels amazing. So you could even have soil formation as a cultural service. We have organisms in the soil called decomposers. And an example would be a worm, right? So a worm breaks down matter and makes the soil nutrient rich. Does the worm directly affect humans? No, but because that worm is there, it adds to the other types of services. So that's an example of supporting.